All right, it's day 30 of jump rope exploration, so we're just gonna round this out with a tip roundup. Not in any particular order, just a few of my favorite tips, as well as to highlight some of the most important tips. And the most important tips did come in the beginning, talking about the form and mechanics and suggestions for how to learn the basic bounce, okay? Because that's going to be your foundation upon which you're going to build everything else. So make sure you understand how to do the basic bounce and some of the key principles that I want you to keep in mind with the basic bounce. And most of the jumps that we have tried in this month is to think that everything is low impact, soft, low impact, okay? So most people will tend to think that jump roping, because jump, I guess, the word, is a high impact, or it's going to be hard on the joints, or it's going to be hurting the knees. I mean, we're starting everything low impact, and we're always going to come back to low impact, because ultimately jump roping should be an endurance sport. And you know, as much as you can do fancy high intensity tricks, you're always going to want to come back to that low impact that we've been doing most of this month. So make sure that basic bounce principles are ingrained and that you're continuing to get proficient, so that we can move on to another month of more intermediate style jumps. All right, so that was the very first, among the first posts, but also we had some tips on the jump roping, and I'm going to just pare it down, maybe add a couple new tips here, but pare it down. So sizing of the rope was to stand in the center and to have the end of the handles come to around your armpit line here. Now that could vary an inch up to 2 inches depending on the jump rope itself, style of the jump rope, or the style of the jump step, as well as your personal preference. So if you end up, here's a little tip. So if you end up, say, in a group class and you have to, like a circuit, and you have to go and grab a gym rope, and it's not sized specifically for you, and you can't size it unless you're like a foot or something, you know, way off. What you could do to modulate or compensate for that is to adjust your height of the hand, okay, or the width, or how the width, okay, bring it close or bring it wide. Now, as I do any of these moves, you'll see that my elbow remains in fixed position, so the elbows always remain close. That closeness to the ribs is going to give you, help you to remember to be upright, open through the chest, so that you could have a full breath of the diaphragm. And speaking of breath, we want to practice nasal breathing for the lower intensity up to the moderate intensity at this point of jumping. That is breathing in and out through your nose. And then one more thing about the jump rope itself. So I had shown a bunch in the beginning. We're going to just pare it down to one or two. So the one would be your main jump rope, or your most basic jump rope. And it would probably be a PVC type like this, fairly lightweight, not a big deal, always ball bearing handles. Now, for the second jump rope, and cheap, $25 or less, 15 or less probably. Now, for the other style of jump roping as an option, is to have something very different than the regular jump rope, and I have two suggestions for that. Either the speed rope, which is super lightweight, and I have one here, super lightweight and thin, completely designed for speed, so it almost rotates by itself, so you could focus on the speed. Or the opposite of a speed rope, I would say, is the heavy rope, or a weighted rope. So 1/4 pound to 1/2 pound. They go up to 2 pounds, and you will pay some money for that. But that is one thing, one style of rope I don't mind paying for, because it's like getting a new piece of equipment, not just a jump rope, okay? So there's that. Okay, a couple of my favorite tips. for the continuous rotations. One is to use a mirror. So the mirror serves many functions, but one of the things that it will do is help you align what you think you look like with what you actually look like, and give you the actual visual cues to correct yourself, because we're talking like an inch off the floor for the basic bounce, for example. Minor adjustments will make a huge difference. So a lot of times what we feel like we're balanced, we feel like we're doing something, it's not exactly what's showing according to the mirror. So if you have, for example, a micro difference in length in your arms or your legs, which is completely natural, or you have an imbalance due to an injury, then what those become natural to us. That's our norm, and we feel balanced in that imbalance. But because we need to have strict symmetry for the jump roping, having that mirror will help you correct and adjust for that, and get yourself used to what you really need to do to be completely physically in balance for the purpose of the jump rope. Okay, now if you don't have a wall mirror or anything like that, just a cheap little wardrobe full-length mirror, just stand it up against the wall. That works perfectly. The other favorite tip of mine is to use your ears and to listen to the clipping of the rope. So every time the rope clears the ground, you would have a clip, right? And that clip should sound the same every rotation. So if you all of a sudden hear that you skipped or skimmed, if that sound changes, that's also a cue that you need to adjust your form. Okay, now the other thing that I will say that is common mistakes. So common mistakes, it was another area of tips, is that usually when you're tripping or you get caught up, it's because you have moved your hand position. So once you find the hand position, and it's usually like this, about 45 to 30 degrees out, and a light grip, and just rotating through the wrist. So usually you kind of moved up this hand, either because you're over exaggerating or you've gone lax. Okay, so if you're tripping, check your hands first. Now, if you are rotating for a long period of time, what happens is you get tired, and certain things will start to happen which you need to take note of. So for example, when I get fatigued, it'll usually be my left foot that ends up dragging. Or if I get caught, okay, when I'm just doing a normal jump and I'm not that fatigued, if I still get caught, it's usually on my front right toe. So notice those things like that, and keep adjusting and modulating your form for that. Okay, so I think really that's about it. So we're doing this month of basically learning, becoming proficient, trying some category 2 and 3. So if you keep at it, then you can join me when I do a more intermediate month for jump roping. Now the endurance part is really what we're going for, though, overall. So this is the overall conditioning. Okay, so even if you get super fancy and super high intense with these, you're always going to want to come back to these low impact jumps anyway. So this is not something that we want to skip over. And I'll just close by saying one more time that this is the jump rope, and jump roping is not something that I consider an option. Okay, it has to be included at some point, and at different as an option, as a regular option for your workouts. So the date, the last day for the 31st, I'll just let you take a peek at the calendar that you can ask me for. That will basically be month agnostic, so that you could do the challenge or the explorations for any of the explorations going forward at any time, or to try it for the first time, or to repeat a prior expiration. So that's about it.